What if I told you one of the most dangerous experiments in human history didn't happen in a war zone, but inside a quiet university basement in America? In 1971, inside Stanford University, a psychologist named Philip Zimbardo set out to answer a simple but haunting question. What happens when ordinary people are given power over others? To find out, he created what would become one of the most shocking psychological experiments ever conducted, the Stanford Prison Experiment. It started with a newspaper ad. Young men from across the United States applied for what they believed was a harmless, paid study about prison life. They were carefully screened, physically healthy, mentally stable, with no criminal backgrounds. Then, everything changed. The participants were randomly divided into two groups, prisoners and guards. There was no difference between them, no psychological advantage, no training, no preparation, just a random assignment. But what happened next, no one expected. The prisoners were arrested at their homes by real police officers. Neighbors watched as they were handcuffed, searched, and driven away. It felt real because it was designed to feel real. They were taken to a mock prison built inside the basement of Stanford's psychology building. There, they were stripped of their names and given numbers. Their clothes were replaced with prison uniforms. They were told the rules. They were told they had no control. Meanwhile, the guards were given uniforms, sunglasses to hide their eyes, and one simple instruction: maintain order. At first, everything seemed normal, a little awkward, a little uncomfortable. But within just 24 hours, something dark began to emerge. The guards started asserting authority, not because they were told to, but because they felt they had to. They began waking prisoners in the middle of the night, forcing them to do pointless tasks, making them repeat their numbers over and over again. Small acts of control that slowly escalated. By day 2, the prisoners rebelled. They blocked their cells with beds, refused orders, shouted back. The guards responded immediately. They used fire extinguishers to break the barricades. They stripped prisoners naked, isolated leaders, took away mattresses, food, privileges, and something terrifying began to happen. The guards, ordinary college students, started becoming cruel. Not all of them, but enough. They humiliated prisoners, forced them to clean toilets with bare hands, made them simulate degrading acts. They laughed. They enjoyed it. And the prisoners, they began to break. Some cried uncontrollably. Some developed severe anxiety. One prisoner had such an intense emotional breakdown that he had to be released on day 1. Think about that. This wasn't real prison. There were no real crimes, no real sentences, and yet the human mind couldn't tell the difference. By day 5, things had spiraled completely out of control. Prisoners were no longer acting. They believed they were prisoners. Guards no longer felt like students. They became authority figures. Even Zimbardo himself lost perspective. He stopped being a researcher and started acting like a prison superintendent, allowing the abuse to continue. It took an outsider, a young woman named Christina Maslach, to finally stop the experiment. When she saw what was happening, she was horrified. She looked at Zimbardo and asked a question that would end everything. What you're doing to these boys, isn't this wrong? That moment broke the illusion. The experiment, which was supposed to last 2 weeks, was shut down after just 6 days. 6 days. In less than a week, normal, healthy individuals transformed into oppressors and victims. Not because they were evil, not because they were weak, but because of the situation, the roles, the environment. The Stanford Prison Experiment revealed something deeply uncomfortable about human nature. Under the right conditions, anyone can become cruel. Anyone can lose themselves. Anyone can cross a line they once believed they never would. It wasn't about personality. It was about power. Years later, this experiment would be used to understand real-world events, prison abuse, military misconduct, and even war crimes. It forced the world to confront a disturbing truth. Evil doesn't always come from evil people. Sometimes it comes from ordinary people placed in extraordinary situations. And the scariest part? If you had been there, you might have done the same. So the next time you think, I would never act like that, ask yourself, are you sure? Or have you just never been in the situation that unlocks that side of your mind?